They say your land is your backbone. And out here in eastern Wyoming, where the wind never quite stops and the sky always feels too big to touch, that belief runs in your blood. I've got 8,600 acres of cattle, pine, and silence to my name. And that's how I like it: quiet, hard-earned, and absolutely mine. I don't bother folks, and I expect the same in return. But 5 years ago, that piece got its first crack. A shiny new gated neighborhood called Briarwood Summit popped up about 12 miles west of my fence line. Cookie-cutter houses, pastel mailboxes, and a community board that liked meetings more than minding their business. I figured they'd stay in their bubble, the kind of folks who get worked up over patio furniture or dandelions, not real problems. I was wrong. The first time I heard her name, it was almost funny. Tanya Leclerc, president of the Briarwood HOA, self-declared regional standards advocate. Sounded harmless, until I got a letter in the mail with a fancy header and an even fancier threat. Briarwood Summit invites you to voluntarily integrate your property under the protective governance of our association. Protective governance, my ass. I burned the letter in the stove. A week later, another one arrived. This time it wasn't so friendly: complaints about the noise from my tractors, warnings about soil clutter, and concerns about rural fire hazards. My closest neighbor is 9 miles away. The only thing my machines disturb are coyotes. Then came the sits. First, a man in khakis and a clipboard told me my fencing didn't meet soil expectations. I told him he had 10 seconds to be on the right side of that fence before my cattle dog decided he was chewable. A month later, Tanya showed up herself. Blonde hair helmeted into some kind of bob, pastel cardigan, and a voice like varnish too sweet to be real. She stood at the edge of my gravel road like she was scouting real estate. "Mr. Cole Weston," she said, smiling like a politician, "we believe it's in everyone's best interest to align with community standards. Your equipment is Sible from the upper ridge, and it's creating concern." I looked at her for a solid 10 seconds, then said, "Ma'am, you're standing on my dirt and telling me how to manage my sky. That's bold." She left with spinning tires and a frown so tight it could bend metal. But it didn't end there. The warnings turned into threats. IRS audits. Land use complaints. Someone even taped a Briarwood flyer to my barn door, which meant someone trespassed. That's when I called Paul. Ex-Marine turned lawyer with the temperament of a grizzly and the filing precision of a sniper. We gathered every deed, every zoning map, every aerial photo showing that my land wasn't, and never had been, part of any HOA. Filed a lawsuit for harassment, trespass, and false claims. We won. The court slapped Tanya with a restraining order and legally affirmed my land was outside Briarwood's reach. I thought that'd be the end of it. But folks like Tanya, they don't lose. They just smile while they sharpen something behind their back. That following spring, I took my drone out to scan the North Timberline. Remote patch of my property, maybe 40 minutes by ATV, and not much reason to go out there unless you were hunting or hiding. When the drone's camera lit up, I almost dropped my coffee. There was a house, 3 stories, poured steps, real cedar siding, landscaping stakes, not just a squatter's shack or a mistake, a dream home. And it was on my land. I didn't panic. I didn't call anyone. I reviewed the drone footage 3 times, pulled up my land records, and double-checked the county permits. That section, parcel 118, still belonged to me. No sales, no leases, no easements. Then I looked into the contractor. Took some digging, but I found the shell company. And behind that, another. Until finally, we traced it back. Paul called me late at night. "It's Briarwood," he said. "And Tanya's the one signing the checks. She'd built a mansion on my land using HOA funds funneled through LLCs. She probably figured I'd never notice. Probably thought that far corner was too remote, that if she got far enough ahead in construction, she could claim occupancy, maybe try some obscure squatters' rights tactic. But see, I wasn't interested in stopping her. Not yet. I wanted her to feel safe. Settled. I let her build. Every week, I flew the drone. Watched the windows go in. Watched the driveway get poured. Watched her Escalade show up on weekends. She never knew I was watching. People like Tanya, they think they're clever because they break rules quietly. They think we're too slow to notice. She built that house like she was building a thrown hot tub out back. Lanterns on the porch, imported fixtures. Every square foot a monument to ego. And I logged everything. Every invoice, every crew, every delivery truck. Calm as a frozen lake. No rage. Just inevitability. When the last nail went in, I made my move. Paul filed the paperwork. Formal encroachment notice. Ownership affida VYT. Filed with the county, the sheriff, the assessor. Then we hired a locksmith, a security team, and picked a crisp spring morning to roll in. It was a small convoy, me, Paul, the locksmith's van, and two quiet men in windbreakers and sunglasses. We didn't bust in, didn't break anything. Just opened the door with legal force. Changed the locks. Posted signs, private property. No trespassing. It was spotless inside. Wine glasses on the counter. Candles by the tub. She was planning to move in soon. Too late. I handed the master code to my son, Drew. You remember that hideous lodge they built in our forest? I said, it's yours now. Bring the boys. Fire up the grill. Tonight we're celebrating. That night, Drew and his friends drank bourbon on the deck while laughing at the chandelier shaped like elk antlers. We lit the fire pit she installed. Cooked steaks on her designer grill. I stood by the trees, arms folded, watching smoke curl into the sky. This wasn't revenge. This was just the natural consequences of arrogance. 3 days later, Drew called me. She's here. I was already halfway to the truck before he finished the sentence. When I arrived, she was at the gate, white-knuckling the bars, staring at the new keypad lock like it had personally betrayed her. Her Escalade was parked sideways, her door hanging open. Trevor, Drew's buddy, leaned on the porch rail with a beer, casual as a cowboy at sunset. Who the hell are you? She screamed. He raised his bottle. New tenant. You must be lost. Her voice cracked. That's my house. Trevor shrugged. I don't see your name on the deed. She called the police. Deputy Hanson showed up, same guy who'd responded when she complained about my barn 3 years back. He took one look at the situation and asked for paperwork. I stepped out of the trees and handed it to him. Ownership, zoning, the restraining order she'd violat. Her face went pale like she'd seen a ghost. You, she hissed. Me, I said simply. She started shouting about theft, about how she chose every tile, how this was her dream. Hanson just kept flipping pages. Ma'am, he said finally, you're trespassing, and you're in violation of a court order. She snapped, screamed, slammed the gate, claimed she was the legal authority of the area as HOA president. When that didn't work, she scaled the gate, pencil skirt, designer heels, and all like a woman possessed, landed hard on the gravel, and came charging. She shoved me, hard, then raised a fist. Before it landed, Hanson had her on the ground, cuffed. Read her rights. She kept yelling all the way to the cruiser, mascara running, hair wild. I'll burn this whole place down, she screamed. Drew called from the porch. We slept great last night. Thanks for the linens. The cruiser pulled away, Leah vying behind the quietest silence I'd felt in years. The hearing was swift. Tanya got 2 years, 1 for violating the order, 1 for assaulting a deputy. Her lawyers tried every trick in the book, claimed it was a mix-up, that the LLC wasn't hers, that it was emotional distress. But the footage didn't lie, and the law, well, it landed clean. In CIVYL court, we filed for legal ownership of the house. Tanya's lawyers tried to argue I owed her for the build, but Paul came armed with a damage report, trespass fees, timber impact, environmental violations. The numbers flipped. The court gave me the house outright. Briarwood HOA fired Tanya the same week. They claimed she acted alone, but the county audit said otherwise. A few board members quietly resigned. The house, we kept it. Why wouldn't we? Tanya paid for every square inch. We added a mounted elk rack, a jukebox, a gun safe. Didn't touch the wine fridge. The boys liked the fireplace. I liked the quiet. One night, Drew asked if I'd ever name it. I pointed to the brass plaque we mounted on the door. He leaned in and read it aloud. A house built on lies, now owned by truth. He nearly dropped his beer laughing. The locals still talk about it. The Karen House, some call it. I don't care what they name it. It's a cautionary tale now. Tanya? Last I heard, she's appealing. Best of luck. The law doesn't take kindly to people who build castles on someone else's dirt. Me? I'm right where I belong on my land, with my boots in the soil, and no HOA clipboard in sight. Now tell me, what would you have done? If someone built their dream on your land, would you fight them head-on, or wait, quiet and steady, until the whole thing fell right into your hands? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear what justice looks like to Saw You Saw. And if this story made you feel something frustration, triumph, peace, hit that like button, share it with someone who's dealing with their own HOA headache, and don't forget to subscribe. Because sometimes, the best kind of justice is just letting GRAVYTI do its job.